The following presentation has been brought to you by Ages of Productions.
The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and David.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going this week?
I'm doing really well this week, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good. We have an awesome weekend ahead of us. It is a pay-per-view weekend. It is Full Gear weekend. We have a jam-packed week here. We got our regular episode that we're recording that you guys are listening to right now. Tomorrow, be sure to check out our predictions for Full Gear. And then Sunday after the show, we are going to do our reactions, reviews, see who wins. It's probably going to be me. It's not a big deal. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, make sure to check out the review show, the prediction show. Make sure you're subscribed. Of course, you can always catch us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. We are available on a bunch. I'm not even going to list them all off, but if you have a podcast platform, you can probably find us there. Just search for Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. With that being said, on today's show, we are covering some amazing news. We got some big news coming out of Breaking Kayfabe section. Another gargantuan episode of AEW Dark, Being the Elite, the go-home show before Full Gear of AEW Dynamite. Without further ado, Kenny Omega reference, let's get right into Breaking Kayfabe. So this news came out late last night, like right after Dynamite went off the air. If you guys remember, I mean, we'll get into it later in the show there, but Cody kind of ended the show with a promo that he cuts on Darby Allin, who's up in the stands. The show cuts off air, and Cody, being Cody, decides he's going to share some news with the in crowd, with the fans who are actually able to be in the arena, and it's pretty huge news. And then the full story kind of breaks early this morning. That being that WWE has canceled, and this is months after they renewed the trademark for the name Cody Rhodes. So I don't know if you caught the off-air promo that Cody says after the show, but I mean, it's only Cody who can make me feel like that. it touched something deep inside me, but it was a really cool moment. Cody Rhodes is up for grabs, and as he says himself, he feels so good to be known as Cody Rhodes once again. It was a pretty cool moment. What did you think?
I haven't seen that clip, so after we record the show here, I think I'll go check it out. But I know what you mean by that feeling Cody gives you, because I've seen it firsthand. You get all misty-eyed.
Whoa, you didn't. Hey, come on now. You didn't have to explain what the feeling was, but
hey, you know what? You said that you were going to win the predictions for Full Gear. I'm just throwing out the trash right now.
Okay.
But yeah, good news for Cody, and I'm sure his family as well. Just kind of really a silly thing, and seems really vindictive by WWE to kind of continue to hold that over him. So, but there's a little bit more to the story, is there not?
Well, yeah. So Cody, I mean, we can go back in time here a little bit. Cody attempted to trademark the name Cody Rhodes. That is his real name. The attempt to trademark Cody Rhodes came because WWE let it lapse, but then there's like a stipulation that they have like 90 some days. So they got wind, or they're told that someone else is trying to trademark it. They snatched it back up. This is, 3-4 months ago. This was just in the spring. So whatever, they cancel it. Cody's got his name back. However, he kind of mentions in an interview, earlier today as we're recording, that professionally he's going to still be Cody. So it sounds like he's worked the last 5 years ever since leaving WWE. 5 might not be the right number. Don't quote me, but he spent this last few years branding himself as Cody. Why throw that away just because you have a last name again? I'm sure we're going to see some merch that actually has the roads on it and whatnot, but professionally, he kind of makes a mention in that promo that he cuts after Dynamite went off the air that if Justin Roberts says it or not, it doesn't really matter, but, this is my name again. So professionally, still Cody, but, he's got his name back.
Yeah, that's cool.
Why don't you tell us about this next piece of news? Because I didn't really get a chance to read up on this.
Okay, I don't know how recent this news is. I noticed it today. There was an article on WrestleInc.com that is reporting that Matt Jackson is for legit injured. He has a torn MCL and has had a thinning ACL for, I guess, the longest time. So this injury that he's selling seems to, or is being reported as, a legit injury. It doesn't sound like they're going to be canceling the match, but I thought it was worth a discussion because I feel like what we've been questioning about the stipulations of this match might have something to do with this piece of news, which is why I included it for this episode. So what do you think about hearing about this injury, and do you think that this has somehow altered or affected how they're doing this match come Saturday?
I think it definitely has implications towards this match. I was kind of set in my ways. If you guys remember listening a couple episodes ago when this announcement was, the stipulation was added, I thought it was dumb. I thought it gave the match away. There's no way the Young Bucks are, losing their ability to challenge for the tag team titles ever again. It just didn't make sense. After hearing this news and reading it and looking it up a little bit, I've changed my mind. I have some ideas of how they can book this match. But I mean, I'll save that for the prediction show tomorrow. Make sure you guys check that out, of course. But I'm starting to really like what they did here. Obviously, this injury isn't from the chair spot we saw a couple weeks ago. They used the chair spot a couple weeks ago to kind of bring the real life injury to light. So they're using a kayfabe spot to sell, a legit injury. It's actually pretty smart. It's obviously not bad enough to the point where, he's not working. Because I mean, we just watched him work a match last night, so he's still okay, but there's definitely an opportunity here for Matt Jackson to take some time off and sell this legit injury, and keep it kind of kayfabe all at the same time. It's actually quite brilliant. So it sucks, Matt Jackson's one of the best performers in AEW has to offer, and we're probably going to miss him in the upcoming months, but you can't have great returns without taking some time off. So I'm already looking forward to, the pop that he'll get when he comes back, if there's fans there for that moment. But yeah, it's an interesting piece of news, and it changed my mind. What are your deep thoughts on it?
This injury was actually sustained during the Butcher and the Blade match. If you remember that one where they're fighting in the
back.
Yeah.
The false count.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember what spot it is, but I don't know if it was that crazy jump off the stage at the very end there.
Right.
Remember
Didn't he
it took
jump
them
down
like
some stairs or something too?
the escalator there, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple of spots there, and I remember him kind of limping during that match near, halfway through that match. So yeah, that's a good point. And that was a month ago or so. So
yeah. I don't know. I see this news, and who knows if this is, shoot or not, but to me, it gets us again doubting the whole Young Bucks have to win now. Mm-hmm. This gives them an out. And then I'm thinking that if this thinning ACL, which doesn't sound like this is something that could maybe be repaired, this could give them the reason why they can never, go for that title. So if they actually do lose and this stipulation remains, is this the cause of it? This injury that he might not be able to come back from? Maybe not enough to shelf him completely, but if they're champs, they're gonna have to fight, you think, pretty regularly, and if they don't have the belts, then they can pick and choose when they do the match. I don't know. It's interesting take. And I don't think it guarantees a Young Bucks win here now. I feel like they have outs.
Definitely. I mean, we'll dig into that a lot more tomorrow during the prediction show, but for now, let's keep the show rolling. I found this news late today, just hours before we went live off the air, but EC3, who's been a topic of breaking kayfabe in the past. I mean, this is one of the hottest free agents out there. We had reported a few months ago after his release from WWE that he, we had all those videos of him teasing what his future had in store, and it was all very compelling. And I was almost jaded when the news broke that he signs with Impact. Now, since then, it had come to light that EC3's agreement with Impact was short term, and it was very open. And the news here is that Bound for Glory, a couple Saturdays ago, was his last obligation to Impact. So essentially, EC3 is back on the free agent market. He's working with Ring of Honor as of now. He's tied up there until 2021, until the new year. But essentially, he's still a free agent. And I mean, going back to some of those teaser videos that we saw a few months ago, he does talk AEW quite a bit. Is it still possible? Of course. Will we see it? Who knows? I just thought it's quite interesting that maybe the door's not closed on EC3 quite yet.
Yeah. What if we saw him this weekend? That'd be insane.
No. There's a different legend showing up next week or this weekend.
What? Oh boy. Are we talking about that prediction show?
Yeah, we'll save it.
Is that your bonus points? Yeah. That's where you're gonna kill me on the bonus points.
No. I don't know if I can claim this bonus points because it's out there.
Oh, okay.
Like if you were just on Instagram, you would know what I'm talking about already. But our viewers already know who I'm talking about. So no bonus points for when I drop the bomb tomorrow. But
All
We'll
right.
save it for
Well, yeah.
tomorrow. Tune in.
Thanks for
find out.
burying me. I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, so you think there might be a shot for EC3 in AEW?
I think there's always an opportunity. They would be stupid not to. You know what I mean? Like he's too talented. He's too good. He's a little bit of a band-aid. He's got concussion problems. But I think he's learned, according to the Talk is Jericho podcast with him on it, it seems he's learned his lesson and he's not, working so recklessly for his self's sake. So, yeah, I don't know. I have hopes.
I guess I'm interested to know why Impact didn't lock him up. Like, why is there so small of a contract here?
I'm sure
that interests me. But I guess we'll see. Good for Ring of Honor. I'm sure he'll add something there for a little while and see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I think it's all him. He's just keeping his options open.
AEW is where he really wants to be.
Yeah, maybe. It's just not quite working out right now. So he's just keeping his options open, maybe. Hopefully. All right, with that, let's keep the show rolling. Let's get right into this week's episode of Being the Elite. So this was episode 228, Losses Matter Too. This is coming off the heels of Brandon Cutler's triumphant victory over Peter Avalon last week, the week before on Dark. So this episode started off and it was all about Brandon Cutler here. And I mean, I just continued to make my lunch. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of it. But as for the rest of the episode, I thought was really well done. I mean, this package was really well done for Brandon Cutler too. Last few weeks, you've been gassing up the production of BTE. They've been really stepping up their game production wise, and I mean, this was just more examples of that.
Yeah, I feel like this is Matt and Nick, giving credit where credit's due. I thought Brandon, along with Peter Avalon, has given AEW fans a lot of entertainment through this pandemic. They were, a couple of guys that were always there. And I mean, Brandon Cutler's kind of a dual employee here because he wrestles, but then he's also involved with BTE. And yeah, I thought they did an awesome job. It wasn't like they were just showing up for work. I thought they were doing really, really well. So this felt like a very much approved sort of, let's highlight Brandon Cutler kind of thing. And it did take a bit long, but yeah, I thought it was done really, really well.
Yeah, essentially they replayed that promo that he cut I don't know, I think it was about 2 months ago, where he's kind of in his backyard dwelling on his losses and how, he was joining AEW because he wanted to prove something. He didn't want to be known as the guy who was given the contract. He wanted to prove himself and stuff. And then it goes into just showing every pinfall he took in all 25, and then including the 2 draws with Peter Avalon beforehand. And then while I noticed something that I didn't realize, that some of these like odd tag team matches that he was a part of, where like Sonny Kiss was his partner, it's Sonny Kiss who took the fall. So he didn't even actually get pinned 25 times, which was kind of interesting. But
right. I noticed that too.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a really cool segment. Like you said, it was showing the appreciation of Brandon Cutler and kind of giving him the gas that he deserves. Especially with how hard the guy worked through the pandemic, like you said, it was a big deal. From there, we cut out and we get into, it looks like they just came from the ring. Cutler's like out of breath, but the Young Bucks are on his side. They cut him, they gas him up a little bit, proud of him and sorry we treated you, a little rough the last couple of weeks, but we're here now and we're proud of you. And then Brandon himself cuts a babyface promo on himself talking about how losses matter too. Everybody always dwells on the wins, but losses matter too, which is where we get our title from. What did you think of this promo by Cutler specifically? He might need to hang out with Eddie Kingston for a while and get some pointers, I think. Mind you, he did just finish wrestling a match. So
Yeah. And I'm guessing he hasn't in his career had to do this as much. I mean, he hasn't in the whole entire life of AEW. I haven't really heard him talk that much, especially in a pure wrestling promo capacity.
Right.
I like the message here though. To me, I take this as it's a very kayfabe thing that, winning is nice, but it's not just a wrestler's job to win. You lose as well. And that's a part of being a wrestler and that kind of thing. And at least that's how I took it. And maybe that's not quite what he was going for, but maybe Mr. Kingston can work that out with him.
Right. Any parts of the rest of the show that jumped out for you?
Again, with me, I think the segment I liked and hated was the speaking Spanglish.
Yes.
I thought it was a really neat idea to do this sort of family feud. I love that it was Dark Order. I love how they were letting Dark Order win and all that. It was really entertaining, but this segment was like almost half of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been nicer if they would have done, one question, cut to, Darby Allin, then come back, do another question, instead of doing it like straight through, kind of, I want to say almost 12 minutes long this segment was.
Yeah, for sure. They missed an opportunity, being Family Feud, being such an iconic game show. Make the episode of Being the Elite like a game show. Like, this could have started as a cold open. And then we'll be back after these messages. And then, and we're back with, you do a bit and we're back. And then you do another bit and we're back. It would have split it up. It would have kept it more fresh, where by the time we got to that third round, I'm already wanting to get back to work after my lunch break kind of thing. But yeah, I agree with what you say, how it was new and it was kind of exciting at the start. I think something they missed, the joke that they missed, is how Dark Order in these first two questions were all involved with Dark Order, and to make some kind of mention or reference that they were part of the survey. They were in the survey. That's why these answers are the way they are. Because, me being the movie buff that I am, the question, who does Austin Powers fear? It's not Dr. Evil. It's carnival folk. It's carnies. That's the number one answer. Only 3 things in this world scare me, and one is nuclear war. What's the other? Carnies. I don't know. That pissed me off a little bit, but
yeah,
it was a missed opportunity.
Come on, Alex, got to do your research.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I like how Stu Grayson's answer to who Austin Powers fears was Anna Jay. Because he's kind of standing there. He's like, and then she just gives him the look, and he's like, Anna Jay. Ding. That was clever.
Yeah. Yeah, you could just see it coming that, the answers were going to be like Mr. Brody Lee and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really good segment. I would like to see more of that, but just not not 12 minutes. I had my finger on the mouse ready to
Skip
like
ahead.
close the window.
No, I know what
And
you mean.
I'm like, you just got to play it out. So there might be something funny at the end, which there wasn't. But
Which there
the
was
first part of it was,
we got Alex's alter ego getting all the Cody answers right. So,
what about for you? What'd you like?
probably the only other like, I don't know, worthy talking point was probably the Darby Allin bit, only because it's John Silver being John Silver. I find it funny that Darby agreed to this. It looked, I mean, it's his character, I guess, and it like on the show, but he didn't really look like he wanted to be a part of this, and it was. But maybe he's just that good of an actor. I mean, the guy is a filmmaker and stuff like that, so maybe he's just displaying his acting chops there. But yeah, I don't know. There's a little awkward coming off of Darby, but I love John Silver in this segment, trying to talk
Yeah.
skateboard, and it was fun.
And Good Charlotte.
Yeah,
Is that
the
what
Good
skaters
Charlotte
are
concert.
into? Good Charlotte.
Well, they were back in 1998.
I really thought that Darby's probably a behind the camera person and not an on the camera kind
Yeah,
of
for
person.
sure.
So he did feel like maybe not that he didn't want to be there, just that he didn't want to be the one on camera that, he creatively, he likes to be behind the camera.
Right.
But yeah, it was funny. I like the reference to Hot Topic, like because he's a skater, he must be into, Hot Topic, and because he's all goth and stuff.
Right.
So I thought that was funny. Yeah, no, it was a good segment. Even the Sammy segment was pretty good. And we got to see Brian Cage, which we don't see too often on Being the Elite. And that was a very Sammy. I feel like Sammy actually came up with that and probably produced that himself. It seemed to have his music in it that he has on his vlog and whatnot. It was kind of like they just took that and inserted into BTE. But
Yeah, I feel like that was just the people who were involved, being Sammy and Fuego, that maybe that was a vlog entry that maybe got cut for time restraints, and he just threw it towards Brandon and put this in BTE because it's a good bit, but it just didn't fit in my show. So
right.
I know what you mean. It was very Sammy. So
Since
Yeah,
his
it was
vlog is going a different way now.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. So I mean, it was a decent episode from BTE. It was good. It was bad. It was. I'm not gonna say the saying again. It was
It was
a
just
decent
different.
episode.
I think it was just different.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and that brings us right to AEW Dark. This was episode 59 of AEW Dark from Daly's Place. This was another gargantuan episode. It was about 2 hours and 10 minutes long with 15 matches. What more can we say about Dark lately? But what did we have this week?
It's an entirely show upon itself now. I feel, and we're not going to go through each one of the matches, are we?
No, definitely not.
I'm glad we're kind of done with that, because half the names I can't even pronounce anyways. I thought the highlights for me in this episode were the main event was probably the best match for me. Sammy Guevara versus Lee Johnson, just two young, agile wrestlers. And that what I feel weren't even doing spots, like they were, being more true to the classic type wrestling. It was hard hitting, just fast and exciting. So really liked that one. And then we had a debut from a young lady called Lady Tapa. Very, if you've never seen her, she looks like Nia Jax, kind of. She's a bigger girl, and she faced Kylan King, and Kylan King gets her first win in AEW. I think she's won in like 15 now, and
Huge.
yeah, it wasn't. This wasn't a match that I would write home about, but I think it's just huge for Kylan King. She's like Cutler, just been a workhorse during the pandemic. She's always at ringside, being part of the crowd. And when she gets her time on Dark, she works super hard. And yeah, now she's got a win. And I feel like we're very close to maybe hearing that she's going to be All Elite. This is kind of how it seems to be working out for the people on Dark, is they get their first win and then we hear them being announced as being All Elite. So if that happens for Kylan, awesome. I feel like she deserves it. She has a lot to learn, I'm sure, but I feel like she has the raw talent to get there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Kylan King, very, very talented in the ring. We saw one little promo just before her match with Nyla Rose. So I would like to see her on the mic more, just to make sure that, she is a complete package professional wrestler, but she definitely has the in-ring abilities down. I've said it many times before. This is huge. And you see the emotion on her face when the 1, 2, 3 happens. She almost did a better job than Cutler did in kind of the surprise, the jubilation, and then it was a little bit awkward afterwards, where the camera's in her face. She didn't really know what to do, so she just started doing some crazy faces, doing the crazy eyes and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm happy for her.
It's I really like it. And then the only other thing that I wanted to mention that I thought was a highlight isn't really the match, but Layla Hirsch on Dark again for the second week in a row, and she made this match. Like, I felt like this match was a really decent ladies tag match, and she had a huge part to do in this. Not to say anything else about the rest of the ladies. They did really good. Elena Black was, I thought, really good. She got her ass handed to her by both Brandy and Red Velvet. Red Velvet, always good. But to me, Layla Hirsch, she stands out. I feel like I wouldn't be shocked if she was All Elite very, very soon.
Yeah, for sure. That spot where she went like second ropes to the top and then jumps to the kind of, like a quarter of the way down the ropes into like a moonsault. Like, I've never seen a woman do that. That was amazing. My heart skipped a beat. I was scared that she was going to slip,
Right.
But she's quite agile for such a shorter, more muscular girl. So, she might be the complete package. I have high hopes for Layla Hirsch too. She's really impressed me in these last 3 sightings of her, or appearances from her. So yeah, definitely sign her up. Huge.
What'd you like on Dark?
I mean, kind of spotlighted this crazy finish from Jurassic Express last week. The big, like, I don't know what you want to call it, assisted slingshot Canadian destroyer, whatever you want to call it. This week we have Jurassic Express. It's just Jungle Boy and just Luchasaurus going up against Danny Limelight and a debuting Casey Navarro. But the match, pretty stock match. It was classic Jurassic Express tag team just working on some jobbers. They shined up the Jurassic Express really well. There's nothing to really talk about there. But while watching this match, it was the tandem offense of the Jurassic Express. The moves that they do together in the ring are blowing my freaking mind. Now, admittedly, not quite as impressive as the 3-way Canadian Destroyer, but Luchasaurus does this like, it's like he goes to backflip or back bump the guy, but Jungle Boy catches him into a power bomb. Like, I've never seen that before. And if I have, I must have been looking away because that was like blew my mind. And there was another spot where, God, I can't even remember what it was. I should have watched it again before we went. But there was another spot where I was just like, is this creativity coming from these guys? It's unreal. Did you happen to catch that assisted powerbomb spot? It was crazy.
Yeah. I want to say that we've seen that one before, but yeah, like
I think they just pulled it off cleaner this time is why I noticed it.
That could be it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like they're sitting having lunch and they're just looking for, what 2 moves can we do back to back that makes sense, and let's try it out. And you have Marco Stunt, who's the perfect person to just practice these things on. And I mean, yeah, when it comes off, it's looking super amazing, and give them the props for wanting to try it out. I feel like a lot of guys probably wouldn't do some of these things, but and I feel too that like they're a perfect combination to do it, because you have Luchasaurus, who's big, strong, and then you have this agile Jungle Boy who can do a lot of different moves. So it's like a perfect combination for those guys.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, it's crazy.
I thought you were going to bring up Luchasaurus with the chop on, I think it was Danny Limelight, just caved in his entire chest.
Oh, you're talking about the choke slam flip, the choke slam go to sleep? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was a straight chop to the chest, but he caves in his. Yeah, I didn't
notice that. But Luchasaurus also does that choke slam, flips Danny Limelight, and then gives him the rising knee. They're calling it the choke slam go to sleep. Was pretty amazing too. I had to send that.
Oh yeah, that one that
Instagram.
You sent me. Yeah.
That was part of this match too. So
okay, yeah.
Oh, good things coming from Jurassic Express, man. It's awesome. And then the other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is that Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman, they came out together. However, they didn't call them the new Hollywood Blondes like they have been in the past, or like how I like to refer to them as. Taz gave them, or Excalibur gave them, some bullshit Ivy Leaguers name because Griff Garrison's the Ivy League MVP or something like that, and I was just disappointed. But it is what it is. Griff Garrison, Brian Pillman coming out as a tag team, looking like a tag team. They get another win, but the reason I want to bring this up is that shortly after this, Lance Archer comes out, destroys all 4 tag team competitors after the bell, and then we get a promo from Jake, which we know Jake's great. One take Jake, he's still killing it. He's still teasing this itch that he has to DDT somebody and drop somebody on their head. I'm loving that. But what I want to bring up here is Lance Archer. I remember a long time ago, like we're talking 4 or 5 weeks ago, 4 or 5 episodes ago, I mentioned how they've been letting Lance Archer talk a bit more in these segments. It's not all Jake anymore. And I like his cadence and the way he kind of breathily, if that's even a word, but he's very breathy when he talks these promos, but he's very soft spoken in a way as well, which I gotta feel is like a Jake Roberts influence on him. But this promo that Lance Archer cuts on Eddie Kingston on Dark, like, this is Dynamite worthy. This could have been a filmed segment for Dynamite. It was that good. And I'm just loving this new trajectory that Lance Archer's character's taken. I had to bring it up.
Yeah, I liked it too. And we were wondering after Lance Archer lost to Moxley, what the next thing was going to be. And it sounds like this is where it might go. And it might go Eddie Kingston, the champion. And maybe Archer gets another shot at the title. Or Eddie Kingston, the loser.
Right.
But probably very bitter that he lost to the champ. So yeah, good to see that Lance Archer has an avenue now to go, because I feel like he gets the big match and then we don't really see him for a month, and then he gets his big match and then we don't see him again for a month. So hopefully it doesn't go that way.
He's Brock Lesnar, is what you're saying?
Oh my God, I just realized it as soon as you said it. He is the Brock Lesnar of AEW. Yeah.
Comes in, does a big match, and then disappears. All right. So
He's got the
good
beard
stuff.
for it.
He's got the beard for it. Yeah. Good stuff coming out of AEW Dark. I still want to see this get back to under 10 matches at least. Let's have fewer,
definitely.
longer matches. AEW Dark. Hey, TK, I know you're listening. Fewer, longer matches.
SmackDown is a 2-hour show, but the
3-hour show.
Is it a 3-hour show?
Yeah.
Okay. But with the commercials,
There's still only half an hour of wrestling though.
right? Yeah. So you're. Yeah, this is 2 hours of straight wrestling. Yeah.
Dark's kicking ass in the wrestling demo.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep the show rolling here. Let's get into this week's power rankings. These are AEW power rankings for November 4th, 2020. I can't believe it's November already. What are the updated power rankings coming into Full Gear this weekend?
We only have 2 changes in the power rankings. The first one is in the men's division. Sean Spears back in the top 5. So took a little bit of a break last week as Darby Allin cracks the top 5 again. Darby Allin out now and Sean Spears back in. So yeah, 2 weeks ago we were like, awesome for Sean Spears, makes sense. He's 15-2. Not sure why that change. Actually, sorry, I'm just looking at the image right now. Darby Allin is not out of the top 5.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
okay, wow, you should have. You should have. It's
I was gonna let the
Lee.
marks bury you.
It's Brody Lee that's out of the top 5. And I think I was too sidetracked about just seeing Sean Spears. Like, is that right?
Yeah.
That weird photo of him in there. Yeah, so I apologize. Brody Lee out of the top 5, which makes sense. We haven't seen Brody Lee, I feel like, in a couple, like the last 2 weeks, we haven't really seen him. That's probably a topic for conversation at some time, but Darby Allin moving up, and that makes sense as he has a match against Cody this weekend. Ladies division, absolutely no change. Abaddon still number 3. I think that's probably the biggest thing to highlight, is even with the injury, she's still there, so no change in the women's division. And then in the tag team division, Jurassic Express is back in the top 5 in a 5th position, and Proud and Powerful out again.
Dang.
So they kind of just be swapping in and out there, but other than that, it's we're going into a pay-per-view, so you don't expect to see a lot of changes anyways.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that brings us to our next segment, being the meat and potatoes of the podcast, Wednesday Night Dynamite. Wednesday Night Dynamite, November 4th, 2020. I keep wanting to say October. I don't like the way November rolls off my tongue. But again, Jacksonville, Daly's Place. This seems to be the running the idea now is that we're kind of getting these cold opens, if you will, before we get into that, staple leading match. They're not really segments by any means, but they're just little kind of bits. It's usually an interview or kind of like a backstage run in, but it's been 3 or 4 episodes in a row where we kind of get a little cold open before the first match of the night. I know you're liking it. This was a lot
I think
better.
you jinxed it. Because you were commenting there a couple of weeks how, great thing about Dynamite is we always start off with the match, and then it wasn't even like a week later and they stopped doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I think Tony Khan just hates that I'm booking the show, so
Right.
he's got to change it up a little bit.
There is a jealousy factor there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So this cold open, for lack of a better term, of course, it's Jericho, Hager, Santana, and Dasha. They're all in the back. Dasha asking Jericho about this upcoming match that was announced last week with MJF. Jericho, classic heel kind of move, totally dodges the question, starts gassing up Hager about his Bellator win, which I thought was cool. Hager still sporting the black eyes, still looking a little bit rough, but the guy did go through a war, so that was kind of cool that he was there for that. MGF comes in and interrupts, and I don't know, we probably get the moment of the night where Jericho calls MJF soft, and there was a part of me, like one little tear rolled down my cheek as I thought of Enzo. And could you imagine if he said soft? I had to bring it up, and we had a chuckle. But what'd you think of this little segment between Jericho and MJF?
It seems like anytime these two guys get together, it's never a bad thing. And even the song and dance that they did, we had thought that it was different and cool, and I don't see these guys ever going wrong. Yeah, it was a good interaction. It was, interesting to see this as the start of the show. And really, I was just shocked that Hager fought Brandon Cutler. I didn't even know Cutler was in Bellator.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Jericho doesn't even disrespects the guy he fought. And what did he call Brian Cotter to Brandon Cutler? I don't even know the guy's name or something like that. And it ended up being like something completely different. It was like Steven Cooter or something. I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought Hager did well in reaction to it because I'm sure he wasn't expecting it. He's like, it doesn't matter what his name is.
Yeah, exactly.
Gimmick infringement. I never even thought of that.
He didn't say it like that, though, did he?
No, not quite.
I mean, The Rock works for Impact now, right? So Impact confirmed.
Oh, yeah, right.
No, just kidding. That's fake news. This leads into the first match of the night. This is MJF and Wardlow versus Sammy Guevara and Ortiz. This was a match coming off the town hall meeting last week. This was a really solid tag team match between two prominently singles competitors and Sammy Guevara and Ortiz, who haven't tagged together before. So, for when you talk about, tag team chemistry and stuff like that, this probably wasn't there, but I mean, this match flowed really nicely. It was really hard hitting. It did its job selling that tension between Sammy and Ortiz and MJF joining the inner circle. So, I enjoyed this match, and we got Jericho on commentary. Should be mentioned. I forgot. That's always great.
Yeah. On paper, I feel like you can kind of shake your head at going, like, what is this match? MJF and Wardlow makes sense. Sammy and Ortiz, I don't get it. But one of the things that we have criticized on this show about AEW is they can sometimes be lacking in the build-ups to these main events where we're not seeing the story. And we're obviously going to get into this, but they did a really good job all night of at least trying to build each one of the stories for the matches that we're going to see on Saturday. So I feel like that is why we had this weird pairing of Sammy and Ortiz.
Yeah, I think the pairing of Sammy and Ortiz comes from they're the ones who are vocal about MJF joining Inner Circle. They don't want them. During the town hall, Jericho makes a reference to Santana, and well, he could care less, kind of thing. I'm wondering if Santana's maybe dealing with an injury, like a shoot injury coming off of that parking lot brawl. We haven't seen him in action since. That's possible. So they work at, AEW is really creative in working their way out of injuries and speed bumps in the road. So I think that was a smart way to do it if that is the case with Santana being injured. Sammy and Ortiz are the ones who they don't want MJF in, so yeah, they're the ones who are gonna stop him. But
right,
MJF and Wardlow are sure we gotta mention the Serpentico spot.
Right, like I totally agree with what you're saying. Is it's super smart if they made the purpose of having Sammy and Ortiz speak up in the town hall and really be the ones against having MJF in the Inner Circle. But I also feel like this match was put into play because of this Serpentico spot. And what happened here is Sammy, I can't remember exactly what happened, but he's at ringside. He's on the floor near the fake crowd, and Serpentico's there. And I can't remember which commentator said, "Hey, that doesn't look like Serpentico," and throws a chair at Sammy. And they take off the mask, and it's Matt Hardy.
Right. I was thinking when they bring our attention to Serpentico and how he doesn't look right, I'm like, yeah, he's freaking jacked all of a sudden. He's like 4 times bigger than he was. At least when Sammy was dressed up as Serpentico, at least they're a similar build.
Right.
But I mean, Matt Hardy is a lot thicker in the chest and shoulders than either Serpentico and Sammy. So yeah,
I feel like this needs to be the new thing. Like I think anybody who's trying to do like hide their identity, they always have to be Serpentico. This has to be a thing now. And I want everyone to do it. Even the biggest faces, like, Cody's going to do it at some point, and Moxley's going to do it at some point. Like everybody's going to take a turn being Serpentico. I feel like that will get over.
That's interesting. They could even work that into a story for like Chaos Project, that every time someone steals his mask and fakes their identity as Serpentico, then they have a match with Chaos Project on Dark and they job out to whoever it was.
I think even Serpentico should be Serpentico. So after like people get this gimmick that, it's always Serpentico that they pretend to be, then one day Serpentico takes off his mask, but it's Serpentico underneath with a second mask.
Another mask.
Yeah, that would just be hilarious.
Yeah, you could write that in. Because then eventually people would be on the outside of the ring on that side of the arena. They'd see Serpentico and they'd wonder if it's their rival, hanging out, and Serpentico would just, it's just me. And then that one time he goes to pull it off, but it's still just him. And
right.
That'd be great. That's great stuff. That's good shit. All right. So MJF and Wardlow, they go over in this one. They tap out Ortiz with an arm bar. As MJF and Wardlow are making their way up the ramp, MJF turns and sprints towards the commentary, tackling Jericho, absolutely destroying him. They go right through the backdrop with all the AEW logos on it and stuff like that, and they get into a little Donnybrook, and Jericho comes up smiling. He's liking it, as probably should have mentioned as part of the kind of the rib or the jab towards MJF being soft. is that he doesn't have the killer instinct to be in Inner Circle. So I like that Jericho comes up smiling here. It's kind of like, oh, maybe he does have that killer instinct. So I liked how this ended, and again, it's just that little bit of build going into Saturday, because these guys have been friends up until last week, right? You know, friends with
Friends
air
with
quotes,
air
but
quotes. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I thought Jericho's reaction was really good. I almost kind of got this feeling like he knew MJF had it, but this is the way to get it out of him is, by calling him soft.
Right.
So, yeah, he looks like the mastermind, which I think is
MJF has been selling. He's been selling the soft on Twitter like all day today. The next person who calls me soft, like, I'm sick of people calling me soft. His tweets have been all day. It's
so that's what everybody's been doing.
Yeah.
As soon as you say stop calling me that, everybody's gonna call you that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, this leads into an interview segment. Tony Schiavone on location with Kenny Omega. He's in a temporary home in Jacksonville. I wonder, the fact that they brought this up, that Kenny Omega has moved to Jacksonville temporarily. He's squatting with somebody, or it's a temporary residence, and it makes my mind go to whose house is that and who is about to debut. You know what I mean?
I was thinking maybe Tony Khan's house.
It didn't look like Tony Khan's house.
Was it a bad house?
I mean, it wasn't nice though.
But it's funny how Tony says, we're at Kenny Omega's home. And then the first thing Kenny says is, well, actually, this is not my home.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting how, why was that significant? Why did you guys have to say that?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm thinking maybe this is the first seed in bringing in someone new. I could be wrong. It could be exactly what they said it was. It's just a temporary place for him to stay while he's making a move to Jacksonville. So it is what it is. I thought it was interesting. But this was basically the first half of this build leading into this huge world title eliminator tournament final between Omega and Page. Kenny talking about his journey through the tournament. Tony brings up the fact, like, yeah, it couldn't have been easy for you, having both your matches be replacements. And Kenny sells the fact, like, yeah, just imagine planning for a certain opponent and then last minute it changes. Like, I've had to deal with so much, even though he won both those matches quite handily. But, I don't know. I'm kind of liking this new Kenny where he's like passive aggressive, subtly cocky. You know what I mean? Like, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Kenny.
Yeah, he's doing it really well.
From there, we get into Trent versus Miro. This was another match announced last week. I talked about it last week on last week's show, how I can see that they're kind of doing the vanilla way of building this feud between Best Friends and Kip and Miro, where this week it's Trent and Miro. And then as we discuss this match a little bit further, we see that Kip and Chucky get into it and they go through the back and fight. So, I mean, it's kind of all exactly how I laid it out last week, that probably the Dynamite after Full Gear next week, we're probably going to see a Kip versus Chucky match. And I like this style of booking, especially with tag teams. This is the way to do it. Have one set fight, have the other set fight, have a tag team match, have it not work out right. So then we got to do the flip side. Trent versus Kip, Miro versus Chucky, have another big one, and then we get a finish, man. That's 2 easy months of booking right there. So I'm excited about this. But it starts off with a little promo from Miro, and I mean, I'm liking Miro more and more, and something we never really got from Rusev in the Vanilla brand was Mike Skill's promo cutting. You know, his words were very few and far between. Kind of everything went through Lana. So I'm glad he's getting a chance here, and I thought he did really well with this promo.
Yeah, it was a short one, but the point was to say something about Trent's mom, which totally makes sense with the best friends kind of story with the proud and powerful and all of that. So they're kind of making it seem like, was Miro friends with these guys at some point, and now, you know, they're kind of pissed at him. But anyways, he basically says, you know, your mom didn't teach you any manners, and, you know, I don't like you, kind of thing. And that just set Trent off, and I think Trent kicked him in the face or something like that, and the match kind of started from there. So yeah, really cool way to get the match going.
So let's quickly talk about this match. This match was really good. Like, this is, I mean, I had mentioned in the last time we saw Miro and Kip, like, this should have been the debut for Miro, but this should have been the debut for Miro. Like, this was a great match. I think opponent makes everything, you know, and Trent's an amazing worker, and these guys went back and forth. It wasn't one-sided at all. I don't want to use the term 50-50 booking, but I mean, they each got their stuff in, and it was great. And I mean, this match, although it was a vehicle for these other, you know, spots to come out, being Chucky and Kip going off into their own little fight, and then John Silver attacking Cassidy, you know, promoting that big match on Full Gear. It didn't take away from this match, because the match was so good. It was booked and laid out really well. So I thought everything involved in this segment worked perfectly.
Yeah, it reminds me very much of Brody Lee. You know, I think we said, you know, something very similar about Brody Lee and his first couple of matches we weren't really a fan of, and then he hit that third one, and it's like he figured it out. And I think Miro's doing the same thing. It's probably pretty different from the way that they do it in Vanilla, and, you know, it probably takes a couple of matches. I mean, there's probably also nerves there as well. Even though they are professionals, you know, you think about working at a place for a very long time and then having to go to a new place of work.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that before. It's, you know, you're nervous about going somewhere new, even though you know you can do the job. So there was probably that, and I feel like he's hitting a stride now, and we're going to see good things out of Miro.
Definitely. It was a great match. If you guys haven't watched it yet, check it out before we get into Full Gear. It was a great match between Trent and Miro. Miro wins that. He gets the game over submission. Trent taps out, and you know, all hell ensues. Chucky T and Kip come back. John Silver and Orange Cassidy get into it. You know, Penelope's just there looking beautiful, and, you know, it was a good spot.
Yeah.
This gets into the second half of the World Title Eliminator Tournament final. Jim Ross in a sit down with Hangman, and you know, this segment really is nostalgic for me in a way, because this is something that JR used to do in Vanilla Brand back in the Attitude Era, where, you know, there'd be a character kind of maybe mid-card, upper mid-card, which, you know, you could argue Hangman is right now. They would have a sit-down interview with JR, and it was a very, like, I don't want to, like, Phil Donahue style interview, you know what I mean? Like, there was some serious vibes going on in the interview, and JR is the absolute best at this, but it propels that specific superstar into the main event picture. essentially. And I love that. I love that it was Hangman with JR. You know, instead of Hangman with Tony. I mean, not to give any predictions away, but I did notice this. Let's just say. But this is really good little interview. Page playing his gimmick to perfection here. JR even, you know, acknowledging it. And you know, how about you enjoying that cocktail? How many of those have you had today? And, you know, really makes Hangman think about, you know, what he's doing. But I mean, this was just great.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this was very strategically Jim Ross paired up with Hangman, just because we know Jim Ross plays that straight shooter, gonna say it how it is kind of thing, and, you know, just gets to the, what do they call it, the brass tacks, where, you know, you're drinking bud, and it's there's a chance it's gonna affect you, and, you know, what do you think about that? And it does kind of end in that, you know, Phil Donahue way, or I don't know what that's already dating me saying Phil Donahue, whoever the new one is.
Well, I mean,
Dr.
I did
Phil
bring
or
it up.
something.
I brought up Donahue, but
but yeah, Paige admits that, you know, he's nervous about this match, and, you know, he feels like he's prepared because he knows all of Kenny's moves and he knows how to get out of them. But you know, it is Kenny Omega, so yeah, this is a tough one to pick. I feel we'll talk about that. Check out tomorrow's prediction show, which I'm sure we'll argue either way on this one. This could really, to me, make sense both ways. So,
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
From here we get into a hype video for this epic 5 years in the making FTR versus Young Bucks. You want to talk about long-term storytelling? Just look at the FTR Young Bucks build. They weren't even in the same promotions, and they were building this match. The tweet coming from Matt Jackson in 2016. We will have a match with FTR, and you are all going to watch it. And it's finally coming. There's a hype up video here. We had a lot of people making their predictions. This whole segment is just an awesome way to help propel I mean, exactly what it says in the notes here, hype for this match. I argued last week after the stipulation was announced that maybe this match wasn't getting the, you know, the shine that it needed. It was losing it in a way is how I said it. But, you know, this did a good job of getting me kind of back excited. And I mean, we'll talk about it more later in the night, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And again, driving home the fact that if the Young Bucks lose, they will never fight for this championship ever again. And I think that's a really important part of this match, even though it's, you know, 5 years in the making. This is pretty huge, this stipulation.
Yeah. From there, we get into a Team Taz promo. I can't believe you found 4 bullet points to mention on this promo. I tuned out. What did they have to talk about?
Well, Taz comes out. It's Taz, Cage, and Starks. You know, they can't find any more friends, and Taz talks about that at the very beginning because he's still acknowledging that Hobbs has not given him an answer yet. But that's not why they came out. And I know you're not really into the whole FTW business right now, but I thought this was probably Taz's best work in AEW, besides the commentary, because to me it's very smart. So he goes on a rant about how Cage and Starks are, number one, not ranked, when they have two of the best records in AEW. Each of them only have one loss, along with a whole bunch of wins. And then the other thing is that they're not booked in Full Gear at all. So they're not ranked. They're not on Full Gear, yet they have some of the best records in AEW. And I think that's like an awesome point to bring out, especially when AEW touts themselves as, wins and losses matter. We keep track of it and it's part of our ranking system and all that jazz. So yeah, how do you have these guys that are so, good records not be in this pay-per-view? I mean, I get why, because these matches are way bigger than these two guys, but
For sure.
I mean, it's a good point to make out. And then the big thing that comes out of this is Taz says that FTW will have a presence at Full Gear. So we should expect on Saturday to see them in some capacity. That really tweaks my interest because I don't know which match it makes sense for them to get involved in.
Right. I mean, the kind of obvious answer staring you in the face is the Darby Allin Cody match. But maybe that's too predictable. Maybe they need to go elsewhere. I'm honestly sick of Starks and Darby. Starks, you lost twice to Darby. Get over it. Find somebody new to play with. But
I mean, we could say that about Darby and Cody too, but
we can. But I mean, this is Darby's time, so slow down.
Okay, so
Cage,
we know the predictions.
Well, okay, I might have gave one away. Still tune in for the predictions, but Cage is ranked. He's number one contender. It's just he's not getting the shot because, like you said, other people are a little bit bigger at this moment, and I think that's where Taz's gripe was with Cage. Is he's the number one contender?
I apologize.
But not getting the shot.
He did say that Cage was number one, and Starks should be ranked because of his record. Yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, Cage, I feel could be. He could be in a couple of these matches. Easy,
yeah,
like he could be in the John Moxley Kingston match. He could be involved in that. He could be involved in the Kenny Hangman, although I wouldn't like that. He could be part of this MJF thing. So, it's interesting.
I mean, he can make Cage's sake. He can basically pick his poison. Who do you want to go after? I like what you say about the Kenny Page. Although it would suck for the story of Page and Hangman or Page and Omega. I mean, it brings up the possibilities of maybe having a number one contendership match for that spot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it gives Darby a good reason to lose if they were going that direction.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like if Darby loses, and we'll talk about this in tomorrow's show, so tune into that. I'm sure we'll get into this more, but if Darby loses a third time to Cody, that looks pretty bad, I think, on Darby. But if there's a Cage interrupt, then
it's a no.
He doesn't. He kind of saves face.
All right, let's move on. This was the spot. I guess you can say this is kind of the second week in the row where on our show we're relaying next week's matches as per Dynamite, and then one gets cut for whatever reason and replaced. But this was supposed to be Shawn Spears versus Scorpio Sky. Now, unfortunately, the news broke earlier in the week that Scorpio Sky had come into contact who is positive with COVID-19. So he's staying home in SoCal, enjoying the warm weather. The match gets replaced by Young Bucks and Private Party, a match we've seen a couple times, but one that this is a really smart booking in a way, because we get to see the Young Bucks in action. It gives an opportunity to build this match with FTR. You know, they can interrupt. They could be out on commentary. There's many, many different ways they could do this. We'll get into how they actually did it. And then Private Party, they've talked about this before during the 4-way, the number one contendership match that we saw a few weeks ago, where they kept talking about how these two kind of have history. Private Party upset the Young Bucks on the very first episode of Dynamite. Blah 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 blah. So I thought this was a really smart replacement booking in a way. But what did you think of the match itself?
It was pretty par for the course for these guys, and even with Matt selling the ankle injury, he was still like a big part of this match.
Yeah, for sure.
They still got a lot of their moves that they typically do in this match off. So yeah, like I wouldn't say it was 5-star, but like this was a really, really decent match between these two tag teams.
Yeah, I agree. The match itself was really well done. Matt's the king of selling injuries. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show that he does have a legitimate injury, but you don't sell a legitimate injury to that much enthusiasm. So I like that he's working that ankle during this whole match, and he never really falters with it. Before this match even gets off on its way, Guevara retaliating from the Serpentico attack earlier in the night. He jumps Matt Hardy as Private Party's making their entrance, hits a twist of fate, Matt Hardy's move. I don't think that's what they call it in AEW. I think they gave it a different name. But Matt Hardy out. He decides that he's going to go to the back and take care of himself. During the picture-in-picture, they had the doctors out there and everything. They were checking up on him. It was, it was an interesting moment. I think this was the moment I brought up to you that, like, this is how you do picture-in-picture. You still have something to watch, but you're not taking away from a match. This is the perfect picture-in-picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of a little bit silly here that Matt Hardy requires doctor's attention on a twist of fate. But
and then walks out on his own power.
Yeah. But I mean, they needed to fill some time because Young Bucks are getting their entrance. They're not going to be entering during commercial break. So
for sure.
I think they should do that more often. Have it that way.
Yeah. So, we talked about how this match actually went. It was really well done. Young Bucks going over with the BTE trigger, but as this match ended, and almost to my exact cue, FTR comes out, attacks the Young Bucks. This is great. This is a great build for what we're going to see on Saturday. And then again, almost to my exact cue, out comes Hangman for the save. Now, Hangman's had his issues with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks kicked Hangman out of the Elite. I don't know why I felt this was a perfect time for Hangman to try to win back the Young Bucks, but sure enough, they did it, and I had to pop pretty hard for that. Hangman came out, and then of course Kenny was right behind him. I don't even know what else to say about it. It was awesome. It was an awesome moment.
I'm glad you brought that up because it reminds me of something that I want to talk to you about, that we can't watch the show together anymore. And the reason why is because I don't enjoy it, because I'm hearing what's going to happen before it actually happens. So for all the viewers out there, no lie, it was as if he was in the production truck. I had to, look at my screen. Is he sitting in production truck right now? Because he's like, all right, enter Page in 5 seconds. And then boom, there's Page comes out, and And then he's reacting to his own predictions. I wish we had that recorded. I knew it. Omega's going to come out next. Oh, there's Omega. Oh, they're going to have a face off. Oh, they had a face off. Yeah. So, it was kind of like, Back to the Future, and I'm just hearing what's going to happen and all that. But yeah, I think what this shows us is that, like, this is wrestling storytelling. It makes sense. And even though we expect it, it's still giving us that joy that's happening, even though we kind of, you did. I didn't think of it myself, and I won't admit that. But I mean, the FTR part, definitely, you knew they were going to come out. Because,
for sure.
We got to get that feud going. I did not expect Page to come out. You called it. And it turned out being good. And again, as I mentioned at the start of the Dynamite segment here, is that they did a really good job of including everything in here. We had the video packages for Hangman and Omega, but it makes it even better that they came out and we're seeing that stare down. There was even a fist bump there, which was
right.
We would not expect that, right? We kind of expect there to be a little bit of bad blood here after the reaction of Kenny when they lost these belts.
That fist bump really makes me feel like this match coming up on Saturday is going to be an emotional roller coaster instead of the kind of bad blood that we were expecting out of these two that we're probably maybe going to get out of Moxley and Kingston. You know what I mean? Like, the Moxley and Kingston buildup was very emotional, but the match is going to be the blood feud, where the Hangman and Omega buildup has kind of been a blood feud, but the match is probably going to be more emotional. So, I mean, that's just good storytelling.
Like, Omega's going to line up for a V-trigger, but he's going to be hesitant to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind
it's
of
going to be
thing.
psychological.
And then
we get a really good quote here in this segment where JR says, Page is a little gunned up. I thought that we popped at that.
That was really well done.
I mean, we got to use this now.
I mean, it's the title of this episode. You guys clicked on it, right? So.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Gunned up. It's too good.
I expect Paige to be gunned up on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. He'll need to be gunned up to get this win. But let's move on. This was, probably moment of the night. I think I've said that like 3 times already on this specific episode, but the face-to-face between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I mentioned it a little bit in the previous segment, how emotional this build has been. We're still not 100% if these two are actually old friends at all, but it's got me believing. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think this is a shoot in a way. They worked this build perfectly, and this was the perfect blow off before the payoff on Saturday. Both promos were amazing. Both reactions during the promos were amazing. We should mention that there was a stipulation that if anything got physical, the match would be canned. So I like when they do that, because then it takes away that possibility of, the segment being ruined by just having another pull apart. These two actually have to use their words now. I mean, that sounds like I'm chastising my child for getting into a fight at school or something like that. But I just, the story progresses better with promos and character work more so than pull aparts and brawls. So everything about this segment is A+. If I could give a segment a star rating, this was better. This was better than a lot of matches we've seen on some pay-per-views. And you know which ones I'm talking about, but
yeah, I mean, Could we go as far as to say this could have been the best promo segment since the pipe bomb?
Yes. Yes.
And this was both of them. Like, it wasn't even just, Kingston, who we expect to just tear it up on the mic. This was also Moxley, and Kingston goes first, and he's like right in Moxley's face, like just spitting on him. Moxley not even flinching a little bit. And then Moxley takes over, and he's just his super calm self, and really goes after the character of Kingston. And I mean, if you folks listening have not seen this, out of everything in this show, this is the one thing that you need to see. And if this doesn't make you buy this pay-per-view, again, go back to tennis. Wrestling is not your sport.
Yeah, definitely. One of the best lines coming out of this was, after 18 years of, whining and complaining, I'm paraphrasing now, but, after whining and complaining after 18 years, maybe you don't deserve this shot after all. Like, that's powerful stuff, because Kingston's whole argument up to this point is that he's been, scratching and clawing for 18 years to get an opportunity like this. And, that just gets shut down in one sentence. That was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I like the Kingston talks about how when he wins the title, he's going to take it right to his mama. And he's going to say, this is why you don't have a grandson. That, he sacrificed everything,
Family.
Wife and kids and all that for this grand prize. And Moxley just says, yeah, well, you know what? You made a promise to your mama you can't keep.
Right.
And it's not like he was really shutting down Kingston. I don't feel that. They're both really, really powerful statements. And if you're gonna give the nod to anybody in this segment, I feel like it's Eddie Kingston, man. Like his acting ability, get this guy in some movies, because man, there is passion there.
It's his reactions, right? When Moxley grabs the mic and takes over, that's where Kingston really shined, because he makes the comment about his mama, and now he's interrupting Moxley, which I think was like an improv a little bit. Don't you talk about my mama. Don't you dare say her name. Like, he's getting in his face, and Moxley's like trying to get the next lines out. He played it so cool. Like, you got to give props to Moxley. He just, listen. I'm talking here. I have the mic. And then Kingston turns around, turns his back on Moxley, and Moxley's just right in the back of Kingston's head. Like, Kingston had to have felt, the air coming off of out of Moxley's mouth.
Yeah,
it wasn't a COVID copacetic segment, is I think how I said it. Like the CCDA or whoever's taking care of these things, I don't know the acronyms. They're going to be a little upset about this segment, but I mean, it was so worth it. It was so good. Go watch it, everybody.
When you just said that part about Kingston turning around and Moxley's doing the promo behind him, and I was reliving that in my mind, it was very much, and if somebody planned it this way, they're a genius. But it was kind of like, the devil and the angel on either side of the shoulder.
Right.
Because Moxley said a lot of great things, about him, about his mother, and, kind of being a part of that family. And then it was almost like he shifted to the other shoulder. And then that's when it's just like you're not winning this title. You don't even deserve it at all, Right. And it's like he's this mind game of, and Kingston needs to be looking at the camera when we do all of this. It was a very, very interesting promo and how they've done it. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Yeah, we can't put it over enough.
From there we get this was kind of announced. I think this was like Tuesday afternoon that this was announced that we would be hearing from Pac. You know, we saw a similar thing. You know, we had known that Pac was at home during the COVID. He couldn't travel to the United States. So he gave us kind of like I'm coming back type thing, and then it never came to fruition. That was like, I don't know, felt like 7 months ago or something. I think that's what he says in this package, that it's been 7 months. But it's this was another really passionate, powerful type promo coming from Pac, saying that you know, he's coming, and he's coming with a new vigor. Is that the right word?
I mean, we can't understand what he's saying most of the time, but yeah, I think that was the idea.
Yeah, so he's coming with some rage and some intention when he gets back, and he didn't mention Death Triangle this time, which was the last time we saw him in the video package. He mentions Death Triangle, and it was just like, oh yeah, that was a thing. But I guess now that the Lunch Brothers are part of the Familia, you know, Pac's free to do his own thing now, which I think is better. I never liked Death Triangle. I thought it was a stupid name. I thought it was stupid of him being with the Lunch Brothers. But I'm excited to see what Pac, you know, has to offer when he comes back.
Yeah, this was a really well done piece, and I mean, we're talking following. It could be, you know, one of the best promos in history in wrestling,
right?
And I thought this was really good. Like, this caught my attention. It was really well done. There's this moment where, you know, we've seen Pac sitting in this chair, but this time he's got all of these copies of him. So he's sitting in plain clothes, and then there's all these versions of him in his wrestling gear.
In full gear.
Yeah. And I really feel like it's like he's going insane. You know,
right.
Like with the pandemic, you know, having to stay indoors. That was the vibe I was getting from it. And I mean, he's already kind of this dark character, but if this is where he's gonna go when he comes back, yeah, I like that. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, it was really well.
Is there a chance you think we could see him at Full Gear?
Yeah, I think there is. Why else put this promo out on the Go Home show? You know what I mean? Like, I think the chances are definitely up there. I'll give it 3-1. 75%.
All right, I'll take it.
From here, we and it's funny. Last week you mentioned, we talked about Nyla Rose a little bit and this challenge that Hikaru Shida accepted. To me, I thought she gave the challenge, but after this segment, we kind of find out that it was Vicky who challenged and Hikaru accepting. But you kind of made the mention, like, man, I forgot Nyla Rose was even part of the roster, and then here we get her in a match against Red Velvet. What did you think of this matchup, and what led afterwards? What happened afterwards?
I mean, this was pretty much a squash match. I mean, it wasn't like some of them we've seen where they're like 13 seconds long. Red Velvet had a bit of offense in this, but as we say it almost every episode, this is the one match where it's really not even about the match. It was more about what we were going to see after. And what I really liked is that we're hearing from Vicky. Like, she's this huge name in wrestling, and we saw her for the first couple of weeks. She was introduced as being all elite, and then she's been rather silent since then. See her outside of in the crowd there every so often, but it was good to get her on the mic because I think she's good on the mic and she's super annoying, and And that's what gets her heel character over. So it was really good to hear from her. I like that she's attacking Brandy here, saying that Brandy she should get a new title. So she shouldn't be the brand officer. She should be the chief bullshit officer. So I thought that was kind of clever, but it wasn't even about, Brandy. It was focusing on Sheeta. And she says that it makes this claim that Sheeta actually didn't accept the match. It was actually Tony Khan that made her. She didn't really want to do it, but Tony Khan made her take this match, I guess, insinuating that Sheeta is scared. So that's a bit conflicting for me, because I mean, we saw last week where Sheeta said, I'm coming for you, or I'll see you at Full Gear, or whatever she said.
Right.
Wasn't very memorable, that promo, but I don't mind that it's changed up. I mean, it gives a bit of a different flair to this feud, that, Sheeta's scared. It's just a little bit weird out of the blue, but good nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think of the end part?
I mean, yeah, everything Vicky did here was awesome. Even, learning a little bit of Japanese and doing her excuse me gimmick in Japanese. And then when she says that, that's what sets Sheeta off, and she kind of lunges at Vicky, grabs her by the collar. She missed the first time. I think Vicky kind of twitched and it got out of her reach or something like that. But she grabs a hold of her. Here comes Nyla. We get this like pull apart. Kylan King's part of it. I think Kylan King needs to go back to pull apart class, because she basically just held Sheeta's arms back and let Nyla beat the living piss out of her. You're supposed to be helping Sheeta in the pull apart, if anything, not helping Nyla Rose, but especially after Nyla Rose beat the shit out of you a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I don't know. It was a fine spot. I think it was a little botchy there with the pull apart. I think it would have been better off if Nyla, shows her power. I mean, this has been my criticism of Nyla, ever since we've been doing the show, is that she doesn't really portray the beast that she should be. She should be lifting and pulling Sheeta over the guardrail, and then that leads to everybody else jumping the rail for the pull apart. I think just that one little spot takes this from down here to up there and makes the whole thing better. But I mean, I'm going to give these girls the benefit of the doubt. Sheeta had a couple really good matches her last times out, especially that one with Layla Hirsch. I'm hoping for a good match here. It's got me, this segment's got me interested in it again. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and really interesting that Nyla Rose does one of Sheeta's finishers for the finish to this match, which seems to be a common theme.
Right. We've seen that a couple times.
Sammy Guevara did the Twist of Fate in his Dark match in the main event of Dark this week, kind of showing Matt Hardy where it's at. Nyla Rose doing something very similar here. So yeah, the last time these two faced, it was a pooper. Hopefully this one's going to be better. Hopefully they've talked it out and they come up with something good. Has the potential to be that.
Thinking back on that match that we saw at Double or Nothing, I don't think the match itself was so bad. I think what our issue with it was that it was really just a squash match in Sheeta's favor. Nyla really didn't have much to do in the match but take the punishment from the kendo sticks. Now that I'm kind of thinking back to how that match went. So, in the confines of a wrestling match with rules and restrictions, maybe we'll get to see that more balanced wrestling match.
Yeah.
From here we get I mean, I enjoyed this. The internet is losing their minds over this segment. I don't even know if half the internet even knows the song that was being played in this hype video. But it was a hype video for Omega and Page. It was really a chronicling, we saw this on BTE this week, how we chronicled Brandon Cutler's journey to his first win. And here we're seeing the chronicling of this, Page and Omega coming together, being a tag team, winning the tag team titles, the tensions that started to grow until their eventual breakup, and then, leading into this matchup coming up. It was all done to Cinderella's "You Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone." I don't even know if that's the actual name of the song, but I mean, that's the tagline. And I mean, it was beautiful. It was an awesome production. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Yeah. It definitely took me back to high school. Again, I'm kind of aging myself there, but
right. You were slow dancing to that song at your,
my hips were definitely swinging a little bit. Yeah, no, it was a very good piece. I like that it's reminding us of the journey and where we've got to, the highs and the lows. And yeah, I'm super pumped for this match. This could be match of the night. I mean, a lot of them can be match of the night, but this one definitely. And the reason why is it's Page Omega. Like, these are the two top guys, and we haven't even seen Kenny at Kenny's best yet.
Right.
So yeah,
that's a good point. I think he's gonna.
We also get to see a not so familiar face here in AEW. Tell us about this one.
Oh my Lord. My jaw hit the desk so hard. Don Callis appears on AEW television. He's predicting the Omega win. Fellow Winnipegger. And you might be wondering, like, dude, it's just Don Callis. Like, who cares about Don Callis? But you guys forget, this guy books Impact Wrestling. Him and Scott D'Amore are Impact Wrestling. Read into this all you want, but this is huge. This is, just as big as The Rock appearing on Impact Wrestling as well. Like, is this the first step into a working relationship between AEW and Impact? AEW's already working with NWA. We're already seeing two-way contracts with New Japan. AEW wrestlers can go to Japan whenever, the travel restrictions allow it. Adding Impact into that realm. I mean, it's just good business. It's good for business. Hashtag vanilla quote. Yeah, I don't know. I lost my mind. I thought this was insane. I never would have expected it to see Don Callis on AEW television. That's ridiculous. That would be like seeing Vince McMahon on AEW television. That's like Tony Khan appearing on Vanilla in the Thunderdome.
Right.
I mean, which we've seen, but
yeah, no, I was shocked when I saw it, but I think this is AEW, right? Like, they're not seeing everybody else as the enemy. This is just pro wrestling, and every promotion having a relationship and helping one another is only going to bring pro wrestling back to what it was. Because I feel like in early 2000s, like, wrestling was huge. Everybody was talking wrestling in all of the, networking that I had and all the people that I hung out with. We always talked about wrestling. The Rock was like one of the biggest things back then. So if we're going to get wrestling back to there where, people are around the water coolers at their work talking about wrestling, then we need to have this where we're helping each other out. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's huge. It's remnant of the territory days, in the early 80s and 70s, how, Ric Flair was the world champion. He was a true world champion. He went to every promotion and traveled and defended the NWA World Championship. Like, this is kind of the first baby steps to getting back to that territory system that Vince absolutely destroyed in the mid 80s. So it's awesome. Like I said, it's just good for business that all these companies are banding together, or at least agreeing to work with each other. We'll see how much more crossover we get in the future, but I mean, it's awesome. From here, we get next week on Dynamite. I'm almost, hesitant to start announcing these on the show since they can go wrong at any minute, but I'll do it again. We're getting a rematch. Penta El Cerro M versus Rey Fenix. This is going to be an amazing match. I hope they turn the gain knob up to 11 this time and really give us the match that we thought we were going to get from them. Also announced the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny versus Natural Nightmares. A little bit of a payoff from this QT Marshall, Alley, kind of relationship gone wrong, however you want to say it. So that'll be really interesting to see. And then from there, we get into a Darby Allin special little video package. We know that he films these himself, and they're always kind of cryptic and they have their own personality to them for sure. And this was no different. We get to see the Cody mask back. Somebody's wearing the Cody mask, and he's got the big cigar in, and he's wearing the suit, and Darby jumps into a car and runs the Cody, air quotes, over, which I thought was cool. What did you think of this Darby Allin spot?
I thought it was good. We haven't seen one of these in a while.
No, it's been a while.
Or not one to this capacity anyways. I think we did see the one spot there where he did the rolling down the half pipe, but right. This was more of Darby Allin doing his kind of mini movie, telling a story. And yeah, I don't know, there was something about the Cody mask and the cigar coming through a little hole in the mask. It all looked really, really good. And the sort of the imagery of him, he's gonna run over Cody, and this is maybe what we should expect from this match. It's got me hyped up for it. I'm looking for this to be the best of the three matches that they're going to have. I think this is going to be the biggest and the best one.
For sure. I agree. Speaking of Cody, this leads into our main event of the evening. It's Cody with the newly announced, newly confirmed members of the Nightmare family, being the Gun Club, Billy and Austin Gunn. Arn Anderson's out there as always with Cody. They're going up against the Dark Order, being John Silver, Ten, and Colt, who we saw in action on Dark. They win their first 6-man tag match as a trio themselves. So they're coming in with some with some momentum. This was a great 6-man tag match, and I mean, you know how I feel about 6-man tags, but this one was really well done. And they did everything they needed to, introducing the Gun Club into the Nightmare family. They were a very big part of this match. They were probably the biggest part of this match. Cody was kind of just there to be there. You know what I mean? Usually in these situations, Cody takes all the heat, but this time he kind of lets the Gun Club do their thing, and essentially that just ends up being all Austin, which I thought was good. So, this was a really well done 6-man tag. I loved every minute of it. Dark Order being Dark Order, trying to do anything and everything they can to get the win out of it. But, it doesn't go that way. So.
Yeah, you're right. This match it felt very much like they were trying to put Austin Gunn over. I mean, it makes sense. Put Austin in a match, then you don't have to listen to Austin because he's not on the outside. So good call, Cody, on that one. I thought the match was good as well, and I don't even know that we need to talk about that. Let's talk about the Nightmare Family. I feel like we're getting a second faction here. We have Dark Order, and now is this the beginning of another faction? And do you like that idea?
I do. Now, I mean, I've said it on the show before. We need to get back into the era of the factions, the NWOs, the DXs of the world. It's an easy way to get more people on TV at one time. Now, you can argue Nightmare Family's always been a faction, but they didn't really present themselves as a faction. The Nightmare Family was kind of more of a concept and an idea. Hashtag do the work. Kind of, it was just a way of life in a sense. But now that they're bringing in Gun Club and Lee Johnson, which I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this guy. He's yet to get his first win, but he's on the up and up, definitely. I think this is definitely a faction in the making. I think we're going to start seeing Cody coming out flanked more than just Arn Anderson. Perhaps the Gun Club and Lee Johnson will be out there. They'll have all their matching gear. The Natural Nightmares, of course, being part of it as well. Brandy and Red Velvet, they're already just as big as Dark Order, if not bigger. So, yeah, I really like it. I want the faction era to come back.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we're really missing is that we either rarely or never see them all together.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, like
the Nightmare
it's
Family,
Natural Nightmares. Yeah, it's like Natural Nightmares with Brandy. We see Brandy and Red Velvet with Dustin.
Right.
And now we have Cody with the Gun Club. But like Dark Order, when somebody wrestles, almost all of them come out.
Yes.
They stand at the stage, and then sometimes they leave, but they're coming out as a group. I think that's super cool. I'd like to see the Nightmare Family do this. I like that Cody's posting on social media, kind of introducing people to it very officially, that they're now part of the family. I think that's really cool. And we'll say the new members of the Nightmare Family get the win here, and Austin even does the Crossroads for the win, which I thought was really good of Cody to just, hey, you know what, I'm the big name, probably besides Billy Gunn, he's the big name, but he's just there kind of as the name, and Austin does all the work. I thought it was a really, really well done match, and then we get some stuff here at the end, as always.
Yeah, for sure. Dark Order, they come out, there's, the scuffle, whatever you want to say, but, after things clear up, and Nightmare Family takes care of business, Cody grabs the mic, and we're going to get a promo. This was Cody's way of building this match, that we've really only known that this was going to be the match, since last week on Dynamite. So we haven't had a lot of time to build anything up between Cody and Darby, but they did a really good, Cody does an amazing job with this promo. It's only 2 or 3 minutes long, but it's the very deliberate way he puts it out there, that we get that story building, and basically bringing to the light that Darby feels that TNT doesn't want him as the champion. Cody doing the classic Heyman style, you gas up the guy you're going up against. He says, that's not true, that's fiction. TNT would love to have a superstar of your caliber and your presence to be their champion. But needless to say, I'm the champion, and I don't, I'm not expecting to lose this at any time, and stuff like that. So it was a really well done promo. It's just that little bit it needed just to get us a little bit more excited, since we didn't have, the 3 months of build that some of these other matches had. So yeah, Cody knocks another one out of the park.
Yeah, and even though we haven't really had a lot of build to this, we could argue that this has been in the making, since the first time Darby challenged for the TNT title, or the first time they faced each other. Was that a title match?
No,
probably
that was
not,
Fyter
right?
Fest. That was Fyter
Yeah.
Fest.
So I like I mentioned earlier, I'm expecting this one to be the best bout between these two guys. I think we're going to see some different stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see some of the same stuff. There's obviously going to be a coffin drop, but it's probably going to be from the rafters or something silly like that. The gun club will be there for the high spot off the top rope, and that kind of stuff. Is someone bleeding in this match? That's what I'm trying to figure out for my bonus points.
Right. Well, you have some time to think as we'll get into the prediction show tomorrow. This overall was out of the last, you look at Double or Nothing, Revolution, and then Full Gear a year ago. This has been the best go home show that we've had. Double or Nothing kind of fell flat. Revolution fell flat. It's been over a year, since the Full Gear one, but I mean, that one was probably pretty good because that's the first go home show that we ever had leading into a pay-per-view. So, it was really exciting. I was really pumped up after watching this episode. I actually wanted to just suggest that we record the podcast right away, but I mean, it was already getting late and stuff like that. But I just wanted to talk about it. I was really excited about this go home show. I can't wait to get into our predictions tomorrow. The ideas are just flowing through my head. Like I mentioned, everybody listening, you're not going to want to miss the prediction show. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts from. Leave us a 5-star rating. Actually, I just cut you off there. What did you think of this week's show? I just started going right into the closing, but what are your final thoughts on the go home show of Dynamite?
Yeah, I know. I feel the same. I can't wait for Saturday. It's going to be hard to sit around all day in anticipation for it. I think it's going to be their best pay-per-view yet. I really hope that they do something with Daly's Place to make this feel like a pay-per-view and not just what we see every week on Dynamite and Dark. Like, I don't want it to feel like another show. I want my $50 to feel like I'm paying for something different. I think they'll probably do that. They've done it before. I would, anyone who's listening here, I highly recommend that you go and buy this pay-per-view. You're going to be thoroughly entertained, I'm sure. And we don't get paid to advertise this. This is just our love for pro wrestling and our love for AEW and what they have to offer. So support them and support us, and they give us something to talk about on this podcast. So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. That was a great way to put it. How without them, we really have nothing to talk about, because God, imagine how boring the show would be if we talked about Raw and SmackDown every week. So with that being said,
yeah. It's hilarious.
I'm I'm sick of vanilla ice cream. Anyways, with that being said, be sure to subscribe to the channel wherever you get your podcasts from, be it Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, whichever is your poison. Click that subscribe button so you're notified exactly when our episodes go live. We have a bunch coming out, as I alluded to at the beginning of the show. You're listening to this week's episode right now. It's a few days early. Tomorrow, you're going to be listening to the prediction show. And then, of course, on Sunday, our review and reactions to this Saturday's Full Gear. It's November 7th. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. The buy-in going at 7:30. 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. It'll be available for free, the buy-in that is, on YouTube. Be sure to check it out. We have a huge match just announced. Serena Deeb defending the NWA World Women's Championship against Allison Kay. It's going to be an amazing women's match. This is the first time in history that two promotions main titles are going to be defended on the same show. It's a really big deal. So be sure to check out the buy-in and support the NWA. To me, they're right up there with Impact, WWE, and AEW. They're very, very important. They're one of the most historic brands out there. So definitely check out the buy-in.
And we should also mention that we have a dark tomorrow. Tomorrow being Friday. So if you're not subscribed to All Elite Wrestling on YouTube, go do that and check out an extra set of, I think, 7 matches or something like that.
Another 7 matches? Are you
Another
kidding
7
me?
matches. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insane. Well, with that being said, thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you all tomorrow with the prediction show. I can't wait. Thanks for listening. Peace out and go
Peace.
fuck yourself, Jim Cornette.